Hi, my name is Susan Ndinga Wright, and I'm introducing myself and my skills in terms of work-wise to not just translate what my title as a conscious sovereign being grounded in multidimensionality is through the lenses of corporate and work language, and also how to translate all the skills that I've gained over the past 6 years of my career into the next position that I will follow, into the next company that I will bring that value to, as it allows both myself to introduce myself prior to a interview, but at the same time, it also gives employers or hiring managers a perspective of what to expect. And at the same time, as my CV is already a good, strong foundation, I also value relationship, partnership, and alignment more than anything else. So I'm going to go through who I am beyond the title, beyond a title, as I'm not specifically looking for a specific job. I am looking for a company that I align with, where my values, my skills, my insights can be of great value, and they can also be recognized and be of use to their expansion goals, to their long-term goals and visions that they have for themselves. So my name is, as I said, Susan Ndinga Wright, and my work lives at the intersection of human behavior, leadership, communication, and systematic intelligence. And pardon me for the sound in the background. Unfortunately, it's something that I cannot control. The and because I don't have the tools to be able to cancel that out, I'm just going to preempt it and then move forward from there. But in terms of my skills, my experience, I'm not defined by a specific industry, like I've mentioned before. I am defined by the depth at which I understand people, patterns, and also purpose, as my expertise lies in multidimensionality. That is the foundation that connects psychological, emotional, intuitive, analytical, strategy, awareness, and it applies everywhere in any sort of aspect of life, company, systematic operations, and whatnot. My value is in the entry fee. I might mention later on what my minimum salary would be, but it's not necessarily, it doesn't reflect my value or the value of my skills. It's merely from my understanding and from my own point of perception is what a company is willing to invest in me, simply reflected to also how far they can see my contributions inside of their systems, and how deeply they understand also the level and the depth of my insights that I bring to the table. So I'm here to show you not just what I've done, but also how I think, how I navigate complexity, and how I elevate from any space that I enter, and how I also elevate any space that I enter as well. Now, in terms of the I guess we could call it corporate translation of my metaphysical intelligence. Um, I want to really specifically touch on this and put as much as attention on this aspect, because it sounds very abstract to some when we talk about metaphysical laws, but in reality, there are all the foundations of all the systems: human, organizational, relational, and operational as well. So in corporate language, metaphysical laws becomes systems thinking. So to understand how systems as a whole think by averaging out the individual systematical thinking that goes within it, and how that translates into the overall system. And that's through behavioral analysis, predictive insights, seeing what we could call seeing long, and pattern recognition, conflict navigation, especially all grounded and impacted by the emotional intelligence that one carries, leadership development, and decision making clarity. And this goes from the perspective of startup all the way to structured enterprises or conglomerates, as every company runs on people behaviors and patterns. And you'll see me and hear me mention these words a lot through this video, because this is where my mastery sits, and this is why my value translates across industries. And that goes for every sector, whether it's finance, tech, HR, events, consulting, creative. operations, because they all share the underlying drivers, the same exact underlining drivers. And that is people, because obviously we understand that people make a company, not necessarily the other way around, because a company can have a structured way of doing things or a systematical way of doing things or specific laws and rules, but it's whether those individuals do apply to those standards or bring down the organizational standards by not necessarily raising their own individual standards, right? And that speaks through communication, decision making, how they manage their own emotions, the purpose that one brings, logic, systems, conflicts, and especially blind spots, which is something that am really keen on. I operate at this foundation level, I might say, because a lot of companies and different types of systems have blind spots, and not everyone has the ability to go in depth to understanding what the root causes of a specific thing might be. But that's where my skill set is. That's why, more than anything, my skill set is a word that I learned today, industry agnostic, because it's universally applicable. Now, in terms of my professional experiences, just to go very quickly through my CV, I am the founder of SHS Human First and 400, which is a project that I started in 2023, all the way to December 2025, yesterday to be exact, the 8th of December 2025, and which is also highlighted on my CV as well. Here, I provided strategic and emotional clarity, where I was advocating for the integration of multidimensionality and metaphysical laws into in jurisdictions, while offering the UK first to be the lead on this part of life that we are not yet integrated into our ways of interacting with any specific system, any individual system, I might say, because it goes from the individual itself, so a person, all the way to the larger system that in which we live in, which we can call it capitalism. And in this process, I identified subconscious patterns, facilitated breakthroughs, mediated relational tensions, and also built personalized behavioral frameworks. Specifically, I created a framework that allows us to have a pilot to be able to integrate and apply all universal laws in a manner that will give us also the results to see how important and how valuable it is to any company and to any system as a whole as well. And the corporate translation of what I did throughout my time at SHS and the 400 is executive coaching. So I was showing to all different leaders and executives in the world, from parliament and governments in across the board, and intelligence forces. I was showing them their own lacks, their own blind spots, and also the impacts of the ways in which we do things on a long-term basis by providing organizational behavior consulting, leadership advisory, communication strategy, and also showing them insights that I had. So when people hear thinking ahead, I place myself 10 steps ahead in thinking how and what reaction could this have? What would this align me to? What would this align them to? And I was able to use the characterization of what a metaphysical aware individual could do and be, and to all the leaders and to our systems and to, I guess, the larger system that we have, which is life, how a multidimensional individual, or one that is aware of metaphysics, metaphysical laws, which is different from metaphysics, um, and the disruption that they could bring, so that it would highlight where our system lacks. For example, when we look at the legal system, because the legal system doesn't have metaphysical laws, it could easily allow an individual to use metaphysical laws as a way to bypass their own faults. And this is also by showing how important change management is, because the ability for a system to pivot and the ability for a system to the different aspects that one has and one brings to the table. I class this as my premium tier human capital work. my own creme de la creme, my own holy grail aspect and perception more than anything. And this is where I really practiced that. But these are skills that I mastered within my own creation, but they've also been skills that I've been bringing to all my previous experiences outside of self-employment. So before that, I was working for Clarion Events as a senior sales executive. Here, I would build relationships with C-suite clients while covering the Italian, American, Australian, and Canadian markets. And I exceeded the expectations that were placed on me and I placed on myself, while also executing strategic plans. And here I would converse and communicate with different C-suites, as I mentioned, to show them the value of showcasing their products in a market, in a ever-growing market, let's be honest, which is China, as it was for the Design Shanghai event. And at this company, I would travel to different trade shows, competitors' trade shows, to not just meet the clients, but also see their respective offerings to gauge which would look better, which would have a greater impact. Um, in terms of corporate translation of my work, here I really practice on high level stakeholder management, strategic relationship building, revenue influence, market understanding, commercial decision making, which again were the foundation to my daily tasks. And it helped raise good results. I was able to close 8 deals within my first couple of months. That was without industry knowledge, which I gained quite quickly because of my learning capabilities and how quickly I devote myself to whatever and wherever I give my loyalty to as well. Before that, I did an in-between role, and the only reason why I mentioned this, as it doesn't necessarily reflect the curriculum vitae or the normal career ladder experience attached to my career experiences, but it's more to showcase the fact that I'm willing to do whatever it takes in order to get to a goal, as limitations to me are more of like opportunities for me to look at a wider perspective to that problem and provide the best solution possible for it. Here I was a sales assistant for a footwear company, Hoka, sport footwear, and I would help and consult clients, customers coming into our shop to find the best fit for them based on the occasion, based on the level of understanding that I gained also through the company's induction, what would be the best fit for them, not just for the occasion, but also for the fit. And it allowed me to also dive into a industry that I did not know much of, but also it was a way for me to firstly and obviously get paid, but at the same time to apply my skills gained in corporate into a different segment of work environments, as I've been working mainly in corporate roles after doing my door to door and the street sales experience, which I'll touch very quickly after as well. And it allowed me to see how those transferable skills do apply everywhere. Allowed me to gain even more confidence about my skills, knowing that no matter where I go, those skills will speak for themselves. Before that, I worked for Randstad Sourceright, specifically supporting Google's accounts as a recruitment business partner. Here, I would design hiring strategies, strengthen client relationships, so communicating with the hiring managers and stakeholders, and consulting the candidates more than anything, because the same way I value connection, relationship, and partnership for my next role is the same thing that I've been bringing in each and every single individual roles that I've been at. And there I was also leading and then co-leading the cultural initiatives. So we would have a social committee where it was all based on raising the morale and building a stronger foundation for the team. As we would all work remotely, it was really important that we would create a strong connection with the lack of physical connection. Here, my day to day roamed um, over talent strategy, workforce planning, AI awareness, understanding organizational culture, and also the impact of individuals how has on a company's development, company's expansion, company's profits as well. And also here would cover I guess the skill practice was business partnering as well. Before that, I was a head of recruitment Oh, sorry. Before that, actually, I worked with Reed for a very short period of time. Here, it was focused on the further education and recruitment. And it allowed me to practice further my recruitment skills. And it was also a good opportunity for me to learn a educational system that I haven't personally practiced or been part of. As I come from Italy, we know that Italian and British educational systems are quite different. So it was a great opportunity for me to learn that again, showcase my skills just in a different context outside of my bounds of comfort. And it was great to see the impacts that I had and how my people's understanding also thrived there too. Before that, I worked as a head of recruitment for 24/8 Promotions, a multi-level marketing company connected with City& Co. And here it was all about, I'm going to put them together because I was a head of recruitment, but just before that, I was account manager and account executive. I progressed into the head of recruitment because of my ability to connect with people and also my ability to know how to represent a company and attract the best candidates and also teach and lead those candidates into leadership positions as well. And here I would also train and mentor, more than train, mentor and train other HR, head of recruitment or admins. I was able to also develop my own, not develop, but practice my own leadership skills in terms of teaching and leading my own teams while also doing the sales processes, which was, as I mentioned, door to door. Though it had started with a more of an event, um, on like street event selling process, face to face sales. That's the word that I was looking for. Managing obviously my own account, and it was self employed, a 100% commission, and I was in those roles for 2 years before going into the head of recruitment role as well. Here, when doing the sales processes, I was able to grow a revenue around £1 million for Shell Energy. And this was by acquiring clients that would also stay long enough with the company as well. We were selling gas and electric. Again, something that everyone has. And because everyone has I guess the value that we needed to show was why was this the better option. And I mentioned this just because it highlights also my level of understanding of what I was doing, while also highlighting how I see alignments, which is all about finding what and yeah, one values and then see where that value is reflected in either the products, the company, or the clients that I'm reflecting and representing as well. So here the skills that I covered was operational leadership, commercial acumen, people development, high pressure performance, that's for sure, adaptability and resilience. And I laughed at high pressure because pressure is the environment that triggers my best expansions because I thrive in pressure, thrive where there's a need for insights. There's a need for an outer perspective or out of the box perspective because I find my mind to be very creative in terms of both on the logical and the intuitive part of it. And it also allowed me to see how resilient I am through pressure as well. And I speak a lot in terms of like the soft skills that I have because I believe that there are skills that cannot be replaced, nor by hard skills and definitely not by technology. Because in a world where we're increasingly dependent on technology to see value, I stand firmly rooted in the fact that something that AI or no technology can ever replace is human discernment because human discernment allows us to first thing gain one's emotional intelligence and also apply our own emotional intelligence, which I see to be one of my fortes, and also intuitive decision making, pattern recognition, embodied leadership. These are all skills that no technology can really reflect or can really house in depth because it's all a culmination. More than it's a culmination of every creation that individuals have put in technology. So that's to say that the moment we start writing things down or express things down, we ignite the logic side of our brain. And technology would only ever be able to reflect that back, minus the intuitive side of things, which is something that makes the human skill, the human discernment, the most valuable skill to be housed, to have, and to be the embodiment of, especially in a time where everyone is moving towards technology. Because most professionals do, they don't be. I am while also doing. And this is because, again, I understand that technology can analyze data, which is great. I'm not taking anything away from technology. It helps us so much in terms of what we can do. The possibilities with technology are endless, yet it lacks meaning. It lacks the very thing that drives human, right? Because meaning drives engagement, it drives retention, it drives the strategy, relationships, culture, leadership, innovation. Meaning is everything that we assign to anything that we're looking at expanding. And my advantage is that I integrate both deep human intelligence and also corporate strategic thinking. Now, I want to spend very quick time because I want to stay within the half an hour bracket, but we'll see. Because obviously, again, I'm putting value to what I'm saying. I'm not necessarily capping myself to time because I know that the right people will spend the right amount of time to see the value that I can bring to their companies, while also understanding the value that they can gain from my own contributions as well. A couple of questions that I'm assuming will be asked during interviews are: what is my, I guess, greatest professional strength? And I have to say that my greatest strength is my ability to understand people and systems at depth. Like I was saying before, my depth goes on a multidimensional level in perception, meaning that I will always be able to perceive more than the eyes can meet, and I will always be able to perceive more to each and every individual problems or circumstances, and quickly, accurately, and also without bias, understand what the best way to move forward is. This allows me to navigate conflict, to strengthen collaboration, and support decision making with high level clarity. And also, my multidimensional perspective is my strength in solution finding because, like I mentioned before, I don't look at limitations as a limitation. I look at them as an opportunity for me to dive deeper, right? Just like being under pressure. How I handle pressure and uncertainty. Well, first thing I have to say, I don't get shaken by external conditions. I have a very grounded internal clarity of myself, and the fact that I was able to expand my mind to global systems to bring about metaphysical laws, it allowed me to also ground myself in my own understanding of our existence, which gives me this undying confidence in everything that I do. And given my years of working with human complexities and emotional nuances, this has allowed me to sharpen my insights and also see how pressure itself sharpens my insights. It doesn't dilute it, it doesn't necessarily trigger it. I don't get triggered, I get expanded. And that different perception is what makes me, I guess, a great candidate, but it's what makes me me. Even during my times, I allowed myself to be homeless for indefinite period of times. During that process of showing metaphysical laws and being the character, I allowed myself to be homeless as I had options. But because one of my goals was to also represent and eradicate homelessness in any country, I allowed myself to go home, to be homeless, while also advocating for the metaphysical laws and everything that I was doing. So I would sleep in a storage where I also honestly gave myself in to see what else would be triggered after that, as I could have easily sit there and wait for someone to catch me sleeping in a storage unit, or face the truth, speak about it, and see if I could well, actually, in the moment I was like, okay, well, this is not viable, so let me see if by speaking to them they might call the police so that I can have a roof to sleep for the night, right? That's the level of unshakenness from outside conditions that I have, because I see solutions before I see no, actually, I see solutions and also the impact of my actions. And at the same time, I also valued the homelessness itself for everything that it's taught me. But I did not ever for a second allow the fact that I was homeless to derail me from the goal that I had in mind. On a daily basis, I would have my structure, waking up in the storage, get ready, get my stuff, go to the Sainsbury's, the location where I would do my work on a daily basis. At the end of the day, I had the opportunity or the chance or I guess the alignment to see if there was food left over that I could carry for myself, and that would also give me a chance to have my own sustenance, and then go back to the storage where I would continue my work and while also taking care of my cat as well. So I look at how can I make this work instead of looking at what else outside of it I can bring. That also gives me an understanding that it doesn't matter what systems or what company I find myself in. It's not about the grass is greener on the other side. It's how do you make your own grass greener as well. What kind of environment I thrive in? Well, like I mentioned, I thrive in places where evolution is and expansion is the priority through clarity and honesty and transparency. And this because in environments like that, growth is prioritized, and that's where my insights and skills can genuinely be utilized and not minimized, but also exponentially grow the profitability of a company, of a system, of a group, of an individual. And I thrive in companies that value expansions in their own ways of doing things, as it also gives me an understanding that, yes, this company is looking long term. This company looks at the long term impact of specific things, of specific, even my own value, the value that my contributions bring. And I have had experiences where companies where I would advocate for the clients that they were trying to pitch in terms of what those clients were disappointed in and why they weren't returning clients. And I drafted a specific and very well done strategy that they were quite surprised by, as they didn't think that I could deliver that type of insights, yet they did not prioritize these clients' attendance, and so they didn't necessarily look at creating better ways or incorporating them in incorporating solutions that would have allowed these clients to show up at their events. So I thrive in places that value expansion and value. How I integrate my metaphysical understandings into corporate settings? Very good question. By translating universal principles into practical intelligence frameworks. Because I look at cause and effect into everything, and in a corporate language that is risk analysis, emotional patterns become leadership insights, while also forecasting, which is linked to behavioral cycles, which can easily be translated as strategic forecasting. I look at self-awareness as a performance optimization. I look at alignment as operational efficiency. And this is because specific when it comes to alignment, I don't waste time in the no's. I look for the maybes and yeses that will bring the quality to the company that I'm representing, unless the nose has great value for the company that I represent. And in that case, I will draft the best solution and the best way to reflect their own values back to them within our own organization. And that is because I understand that my loyalty isn't on the client, it's on the company. But at the same time, the loyalty that I give to the company, it's also based on the allowance of crafting solutions that will also bring those clients that are highly desired by the company itself. So there's nothing really abstract about metaphysical understanding of life and metaphysical understanding of like frameworks and patterns and all of that. It's quite profoundly practical. It is all based on the perspective that one gives it and assigns to it as well. Another question is, what is the biggest lesson that my journey has taught me? The alignment is more important than opportunity, but it's also important to see the opportunity in any alignment, in anything that comes. Because, like I said before, it's not just the limitations, it's every single experience that we experience. There is value to it if we choose to allow ourselves to see the value. So I look at what's the opportunity here, what's the opportunity with that, what's the opportunity with that, before I even make a decision, because I need to see the opportunity in everything, even what shows or comes across as not of value, because again, value lies in the beholder's eyes, because again, it's a choice to see value in something, right? It is an active choice. And the performance becomes effortless and exponential the moment we start to see and house that type of perspective to everything. And here, what I do is I fact find to understand one's value and align to those. As the rest, I understand that the rest will take care of itself. What can one expect in bringing me into their organization? Well, first thing, definitely clearer communication, the same way, and transparency, the same way speaking here is the same way I will be speaking within your organization. And this is because I value transparency, but I also value a company and an organization that values challenge of standards, because I understand that I have high standards for myself and I will challenge my standards at any given moment in time. If I am within a container that doesn't like to be challenged when it comes to standards, it doesn't like to hear where they could do better, that is not an organization that I want to be personally part of. But if an organization does want to see their blind spot, does want to see where they can develop, then they can easily expect more grounded relationship and leadership, better decisions, stronger people, higher morale, deep insights, strategic clarity, and a very stabilizing, elevating presence. And to touch a little bit on all of those points, more grounded leadership is because I will trigger the leadership team to be better, because they would have to cater to someone with with such high standards. So it's a natural reflecting process, because we all reflect back to each other. If we have an employee that doesn't necessarily challenge ways, or it doesn't house high standards, then the management team can only manage them to the level of standards that they house. So they wouldn't necessarily be able to offer more than what they house. Hopefully that makes sense. When it comes to better decisions, is because obviously we'll be looking at wider perspective of any specific decision that needs to be made. Usually people would think that this will take longer, but it only takes longer if one side or one's perspective isn't as trained to see wider. My perspective is already wide as it turn. I see way more than most people do. And that's why I also build stronger people, because I show them how stronger they can, how much strength they can find within in terms of their perception, which then reflects back to their own performances as well. Higher morale, because I value how important it is, the impact that a company has on each and every single individual, both from the inside perspective, so the employee, and the outside perspective, the clients. Higher morale means better results, more efficiency, better performances, better ROIs. It just helps, and it's the foundation to everything. It really is the foundation to everything. And when it comes to, sorry, I'm just getting the charger. Should have prepared for ahead of time that I will take the responsibility of. But at the same time, again, transparency is the key as a in terms of deep insight, is again linked to what I said before. The wider the perspective, the wider the insight, because again, we can only bring an analysis to what we allow ourselves to see. Strategic clarity is because again, that's just the way I've ingrained myself. I think with strategic clarity through any circumstance where people might bring confusion, I show them the clarity within that confusion. And again, the stabilizing, elevating presence, that's just who I am. So I carry that with me everywhere I go. Now, in terms of, I'm probably going to be touching on the 45, 50 minutes, but that's completely fine. Actually, no, just a quick closing here. Value clarification and the compensation, my own personal compensation philosophy. So like I said at the beginning of this video, my value isn't tied to the number of a company, to the number that a company offers, because that number only reflects how deeply they understand the transformation that I could bring to their company. And that's also because I understand my own internal value. I don't chase company, I align with the right ones. And again, compensation is not about worth, it's about vision. If a company sees far enough, they will invest accordingly. And to touch on that, the worst case scenario would be 5K annually. Yeah, I expect a minimum of 55K given the depth of what I can bring. And I also understand that some companies might need to see me in action before raising that number, because I've had that experience before. I've had that experience where I entered at a specific amount, and then I entered at 38K, and then I was moved up to 42K, and this was within months, because I understand that again the entry fee is more to suffice specific requirements, but the right company will see long enough and will value the actions and the approaches and the insights and the performance that I actually bring with myself. I'm already I have already been exposed to roles that offer around 80K, but at the same time I am holding my options open, because I'm looking for the right alignment and not necessarily my next role. I'm not looking at just jumping into any role that would pay me the highest amount. I'm looking into the best role that would also reflect back to me something that I don't personally know, where I can learn. Again, I trust my learning capabilities, so it doesn't take me long to master anything. It's just a matter of where I want to place my focus and where I want to um where I need to develop in order to achieve a specific goal. So all of this was an invitation. I'm just gonna close this video as it's not necessarily a plea for a position, but it is a demonstration of my capability, my clarity, my character, my ways of thinking. And if any parts of it or the wholeness of it, even better, resonates with you, if you see a place for someone who can elevate people, systems, communication, leadership, and perspective, and isn't afraid of being challenged in terms of when it comes to standards, then I'm more than happy to open a conversation. You'll find my details listed below, and I will attach my CV as well. Hopefully, I'll be posting this on YouTube, so hopefully I'll be able to attach a document to it. If not, I'll just attach the link that takes you to my own blog posts, where I have also a more thorough explanation of my skill sets and experiences, and also my CV at the bottom with my phone number and email as well. I have shared my details openly, but I understand that YouTube is a much of a wider audience, so I'm not gonna share my phone number there directly. But again, I might reconsider by the time I post this. Uh, so yeah, I can adapt. Just the last message, I can adapt my essence, my metaphysical understanding of life to any company that's willing to integrate real insight, human intelligence, and multidimensional strategy. So if that's you, well, thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for seeing beyond the surface, because that's where my gifts lie, and that's where, not lie, Lie, but um that's where that's where my best suit lives. So I look forward to speaking with the right companies, with the right individuals, and see where we can merge and support each other's visions. And yeah, my next actually I didn't cover that, sorry. The one thing that I'm looking for, as I've already personally have ascended and completed my own life's purpose, right now I'm just looking for the next challenge. I'm looking at developing my own understanding of metaphysical laws into a specific industry where I can learn and develop skills that I might have not touched on before. So I'm looking for something that expands more who I am, because the more I expand, the more I can bring back that expansion and bring back that value as well. So thank you. And well, looking forward to hearing from you. Cheers.